I done tussle with a whale. I done handcuff lightning, throw thunder in jail. That's bad.
Assalamu alaykum. Muhammad Noor here, Sunnah strength. Subscribe. Listen up, guys. Today is Friday and got a video, inshallah, a video response to a question. Alright, this question comes from a brother who says he's 120 kilos. 120 kilos, right? Which is, how many stones that is? I'm guessing it's about 18, 19 stone. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Alright. And he says he wants to lose weight. Any advice? Alright, number one advice I would tell the brother is keep your training regular. Right? That is the number one advice. Number two, and this is probably the most important advice, is you need to start tracking exactly what you're eating. Because believe me, I was 120 kilos once as well, yeah? And the reason I reached this because I didn't track anything, right? So you kind of balloon up to that weight without really noticing because it just creeps up on you. So in order to lose the weight, number one, you have to know exactly what you're intaking and what's working for you and what's not, right? I believe, right, and there's some evidences for it, that there's people, there are two groups of people, right? Actually, three groups, yeah? There's a group that do well with carbohydrates, another group that do well with fats and protein, and a final group that they don't care. They can do either or, right? So I was in the group of don't deal well with the carbohydrates. If I kick up my carbohydrates intake, I gain weight like it's nothing, man. As soon as I eat it, stays and becomes fat, and I grow and I become almost obese very, very quickly, right? And if I didn't train, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, I'll be dead. Probably in a bed, one of those fat guys. You know those guys. I couldn't get out of bed. One of those guys, right? So I would recommend that you start experimenting and note-taking of exactly what you're eating, right? It's called a food diary. A lot of nutritionists, when you go to a nutritionist and tell them, listen, this is what I want to achieve, what should I be eating, and then they'll make sure that you do at least a 2-week food diary so they know exactly what types of food you eat, what kind of food you like, and then they try to make it a little bit healthy in order for it to work for you. But I want you to start making notes of exactly what you eat and how much you eat and what's the calories of it and the macros, so the proteins, the carbs, and the fats, right? And then once you do that first 2 weeks, you have a look and see what's changed in your body. If nothing's changed, then you need to start manipulating those numbers, right? You either drop the calories or you start to play about with the macronutrients. So you either drop some carbs and see if that changes, yeah, without dropping the calories. If you drop some carbs and the calories your weight starts to go down, you'll reach a point where you dip a little bit, then you can start breaking down some of the other macronutrients. So you cut the calories eventually, and you do this slowly, and then you learn exactly what your body prefers as fuel, right? Some people work perfectly with a high fat, low carb diet, while others work extremely well with a high carb, low fat diet. I mean, there's individual variability, and it's always down to the individual, but you will not know what group you fall into unless you experiment. So make sure you experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment, right? I'll experiment on a daily basis. High carbs, not on a daily, but I would literally experiment either high carbs, high protein, or high fat, and see which one works for me. And for me personally, what I believe is working for me is a high-fat, low-carb diet, right? So, and a moderate amount of protein, not too much. This works for me when I want to drop weight, right? So, try and keep a food diary and then play about with the macronutrients and start dropping the calories slowly, but not too fast, because we don't want to hit a plateau too quickly. We want to gradually reach your goal. And I'm assuming you're not going into for no competition, so there's no race here. There is no race. So take your time. If it takes you a year, 2 years, 3 years, it doesn't matter. As long as you're consistent and you're improving on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis. Until next time, guys, remember, subscribe, tell your friends, family, brother, sister, mother, father, uncle, auntie, wherever. Imam, especially the imam. Damn, man, they be like holding their belly here when they're praying, right? Allah Akbar. Anyway, subscribe. Remember, like us on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube, like us on Facebook and Instagram and all of them social media. We're there. So remember, eat clean, and write it down. Get lean. You'll get lean, inshallah. And never ever neglect your deen. Asalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I done tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail. That's bad.